I certainly say, Madam Speaker, and I think Oregonians will agree with me.
Political bodies exist to secure responsible government and to execute the will of
Hey, I'm Mike McLane, serving in the Senate and here in Oregon, and part of the Oregon discussion on government efficiency. And we're back in the studio, but last Friday and Saturday we were at the Dorchester Conference in Welch's. It was a great conference, and we just set up the equipment, kind of had this little space, and invited people who were at the conference to just join us and share their perspective of being at Dorchester and kind of some of the issues that they're concerned about in Oregon. So enjoy the clips.
Come closer, come closer.
Right.
Yeah. So again, we're pulling people in today, and we're saying, how did you find Dorchester? For you, how many Dorchesters have you been a part of?
Well, I've been doing Dorchester since I was 19 years old. It was actually my first entrance into politics. I was Jeff Stone's intern, walking through the door, and it was, for me, it totally opened up my eyes to Oregon politics. Only at Dorchester can you just have the access of just to your state legislators and your locally elected officials. I remember I was sat down at a table, and Senator Bob Packwood was sitting there. Senator Gordon Smith was at another table. Congressman Walden was at another, and they were like talking to you, right? And you had access, and you had state legislators everywhere. And for me, that's where I met the college Republicans had a booth, and I met those guys, and I was getting ready to go to college, and so all of a sudden going to the University of Oregon for my small town in Sandy was not as scary as it was, and those became my buddies right when I went into college. And so for me, it just really launched me in just my passion for public service and giving back and really Republican Party politics.
So I should have introduced you, Stan Pulliam.
Yes.
Stan Pulliam.
Yes.
Mayor of Sandy for how many years?
For 6 years, three terms, 6 years. Yeah.
Ran for governor?
Yeah, ran for governor.
So was there a point at which in your life, like growing up, like were you part of student council? Was there a thought when you were in grammar school, middle school, high school, whatever it was, that you said, someday I have an interest in serving the public in this way?
So I was really into basketball growing up. I was, doing the club sports and traveling around, and I think for all of us, you come this time where you got to realize you're not going to become a professional athlete. And for me, that was after my freshman year. It came pretty early for me.
Devastating day.
It was devastating, actually, in a lot of ways. And I had a couple of my teachers in school just called me to the office, actually the gym coach, and he said, "Hey, I've been talking to Mr. Key, the civics teacher. We can tell that you're a little rudderless, and but you have all these qualities that we really want to, just exemplify." And so they actually sent me on this close-up program to Washington, D.C. And so my sophomore year, I went to Washington, D.C., and going there, I still get this feeling to this day going there, right? Like you feel like as an American citizen, your hands can be part of the steering wheel of our country. Yeah. And it was just super inspiring for me, and I didn't know what I was going to do within politics or public service, but coming out of that program, and Mr. Key was a colonel, still is a colonel in the Marines, and just his passion for public service and going to the Supreme Court and doing all that. As a kid, it was like, this is what I want to do. And then I discovered Dorchester, as I was talking about, and that, you come home and you're like, well, I want to do something, but you don't know how to do it. And then Dorchester really, for me, became that means of meeting the people and getting the skills and figuring out how to go and do it and get involved. So,
well, and I would imagine, and I'm speculating here, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in your run for governor, like you and Mackenzie really found a groove in certain aspects of campaigning. Yeah. And then Christine moved forward out of the primary, and I felt like watching you and Mackenzie, like you were looking at this and you said, well, wait a second, we just learned a lot. Yeah. And I think we could help people in this space. Like if it wasn't my time to serve in that capacity or to run in that capacity, maybe we help other people navigate these waters that, quite frankly, no one hands us a playbook. Right. When you decide you want to run for office, or even to the extent that you become mayor or a state rep or whatever, like no one walks in and says, "Oh, here's the playbook. Right. this is how you do that job. This is how you run for the office. This is how you build relationships. And yet I felt like, okay, here are two people that said, we learned these lessons. How can we help other people navigate that process and help other people be successful and have impact that way?
Once Mackenzie and I met at Dorchester, and then before running for governor,
no wonder you keep coming back.
That's right. Well, it's actually
it's like an anniversary.
Next year will be our 20-year anniversary of meeting at Dorchester. So it's it really is a labor of love for us. It's something that we met doing, and we want to keep it alive for a lot of reasons because of what it means to our family. And after we met at Dorchester, we started working on political campaigns. We worked for Kevin Mannix in one of his campaigns for governor.
Yeah.
And then we went to Kentucky and worked on a governor's race. And we did a lot of things that we felt was kind of like before the time. We were, this is back in 2007. Actually, the Washington Post wrote about it. We were live streaming the announcement for him. We had all these videos and social media going. In 2007, we had that going on. And we come back home, we start our family, and for whatever reason, Republican politics isn't the easiest place to make a living, right? And so I went into commercial insurance. She went into working in marketing for a community credit union. You have kids, and you realize these issues they raise in importance.
Absolutely.
And so that's where we got more involved in public service. And you're right. So that campaign for governor, Mackenzie started running my campaigns again because that was our history. So when I ran for mayor, she was my campaign manager. And in that race for governor, it was somewhere in between throughout it. I'll never forget, we're sitting next to each other and we look at each other, and it was just, no matter where this ends up, we feel like we have a gift, something, not individually, working together. There's something about our collaboration that we really feel is pretty special. And so that was something that we wanted to continue to give. And we've noticed certain things that we did on the governor's race that I felt like wasn't really being done in Oregon, kind of raised the game. And we see different candidates doing it. And we continue to told our staff that throughout the governor's race is when you see other people doing what we're doing,
right?
Like, that means that tide's lifting all boats, right? Like, that means that we are getting Republican candidates to engage and maybe run in a little different way that we feel is a better way. Yeah. Maybe not everybody, but we feel is a better way. And that for us is what it's all about. So we stay with Dorchester. Everything else is we want to boost common sense conservatives across the state.
So, and I dialed into Noble Consulting there and what you guys are doing. But bring it back to Dorchester. Like,
yes.
What for you, and again, what a wonderful thing to have met your wife here.
Yeah.
Like I would imagine that alone brings you back. Yeah. But what for you is the thing that should compel people to want to come back?
Well, one is the things that inspired me is the access, right? I mean, as a Senate Republican leader, you're just a normal guy. And so you don't see this. But when you're walking around and these young Republicans and these college Republicans, when they have a chance to interact with you and they talk to you and they see you on stage, they then see themselves eventually on stage and it inspires them, right? And so I want people to be inspired from here. The women's leadership breakfast that we just came from, that's my favorite event at Dorchester. I was in my young 20s when Speaker Karen Minnis was Speaker of the House. So seeing her sitting next to her Chief of Staff, Gary Wilhelms, to me, that's a special moment. And what Representative Scharf said was inspiring. Holy smokes. I have not had much access to Senator Weber.
Grandma Bulldog.
Holy smokes. I mean,
do you see why we gave her that nickname?
Oh, I do. I mean, it's super cool. But
when she started punching at the audience and said, hey, kids matter. And
I wrote it down. We'll do it on social media. When she said that as a mayor, when she said our kids are our most important infrastructure.
Yeah.
It really hit home for me. So it's the conference, but beyond that, where we're trying to go as a board is we want to create the alternative to emerge, Oregon. One of the things that I was working on a congressional campaign back in the early 2000s, they sent me to the RNC campaign management colleges. Week long, you get trained, you have put together a campaign plan. At the end, the consultants are critiquing it. And I'm talking, you had to go into what precincts are you targeting? What's your media spend going to be? It took you from here to here. we want to eventually build out week-long trainings for candidates, for campaign managers, and then bring it year-round, do quarterly check-ins, and really get that process going of candidate cultivation, development, but not just candidates. People have to run these campaigns. Yeah. And, you know, people talk about doing this all the time. And but the truth is a lot of people that get passionate about this and they run for office and they you get busy running your own campaign and then you get elected and you got to run your own staff. There needs to be an organization out there for the long term. Next year's Dorchester's 60th anniversary. Yeah. That is focused on both candidate and professional development in the long term. And we keep raising a little bit of money, more money each year. I mean, man, I wish we were there now, right? But it takes funds to do. But we really believe in the next couple of years, we're going to be there. And you can feel the conference building every year, I feel like. And if we can get to that point, that's the impact for me. I want to inspire people in this conference, but if we can have a long-term impact by training candidates and professionals, I think that's where we really leave our mark long-term as a conference.
So we talk about Emerge Oregon, and I'm not sure everybody that will watch this potentially would know what it is. But the Democrats have an apparatus, right? They bring people in. They put them through a candidate training school. They learn how to build a resume, if that's the path you want to go. A lot of us do fall into this. Like, I wasn't somebody that planned on running for office ever, so I wasn't concerned about serving on the budget committee or getting involved in a local race and serving on city council. Like, I wasn't trying to become a state representative someday. I just happened to fall into an appointment process. So my path is a little bit different than many will take. Yeah. But you know, a group like Emerge on the Democrat side of this opposition party that runs against us in campaigns, they very systematically identify people with talent, and then they facilitate a process to help them grow. And I kind of think about, like, yesterday we had trumpeters, which is Toastmasters in essence. And my favorite part every year is that someone stands up and critiques in a very kind way, but critiques my approach to how I delivered my message. Right. And I always take that feedback, and I want to do something with it. What's funny is we've started this series of podcasts. Yeah. And if I'm self-evaluating right now, we're hitting about a 5 out of 10. Sure. But we're getting there. Like, we're starting.
I see them popping up in my news.
We're starting to find our groove. We're starting to figure out how we engage. Some of it is, we don't know who we're talking to. We don't know if people are really interested in the wonky conversation about the budget. We don't know if people are looking for the 1 minute snippy comment that they can be like, oh yeah, I identify with that, you know, get them.
But what goes on TikTok, right?
Yeah,
real short.
Exactly. my niece yesterday was like, Bonham, sorry, she didn't call me Bonham. She calls me Uncle Dan. Yeah. Uncle Dan, I see you every day on TikTok. So
there you go. Well, now you're making a mark.
That's funny.
That's great.
But you know, we're trying this new avenue, relatively untested, and we've had some people reach out and offer some criticism, which is great. We can learn from that. We can grow. But part of it is just creating a platform for people to express ideas, to express a desire to connect as well. Like, I don't think, at least for me, I'm a representative of my district. Right. I am not supposed to go there and just spout every thought that I have. I'm supposed to convey a message from my district. And so the only way I can do that is to engage, to listen. You know, I do get a lot of feedback from folks within my district that are very liberal, that say, you never say anything that resonates with me.
But they're watching.
And I did say, well, you can imagine how my conservative friends in Portland feel. Right? Yeah. Like
every single thing that's coming through the news.
It does go both ways. Yeah. But anyway, I want to like, we're doing this as an effort to just kind of cut through mass media, to talk directly to people, to engage with people. And, you know, I've been offering that invitation. Like, how do we get more people involved in this? Right. We invested some money. We invested some time. You know, Jacob does a lot of work on the back end. Yeah. And we want to honor that. Yeah. We're not asking them to do this for free, right? Like, this all takes money to churn and burn and get content out there. Yeah. But we do want more content. And so I just invite you to engage with us in ways that you see fit. And as you are identifying candidates, if we want to raise the profile of somebody, to give them some exposure, if they just want to learn how to talk in front of a camera, it's weird for a lot of people. Yeah.
But if you want to win public office, you better get used to talking in front of a camera. And talking, you talk about Toastmasters. When I first started getting back out there, I was nervous, right? I mean, the butterflies in the stomach, you get in front of people, you're scared to take on questions, or a reporter puts a microphone in your mouth, and do you talk too long? Do you talk too short? Those are all skills that a Toastmaster.
What about the 18-year-old that stands there in the front row?
Oh,
with the camera?
Worst. It's the worst. Yeah.
What are you doing with that camera there?
Yeah. Right. Well, anymore, you just kind of got to get over it. You're going to be on camera just about anywhere you are.
And the good news is I say stupid things.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It happens.
Right. Yeah. It does.
Right. Every once in a while, I didn't articulate something very well, or I said something that I hadn't put a lot of thought into.
But the truth is I think pop culture, I think the media, here real soon, they're going to have to we're about to have this generation of people that live their entire lives online, from MySpace to Facebook to Twitter, and so, Snapchat, all the things that are out there. And so I think the vetting process for candidates and what the public's going to have to get used to knowing about their candidates and the personal lives of their candidates, both sides are just going to have to get a lot more comfortable with that really soon, because it's all out there and it's available.
What I love is that you just admitted to having a MySpace page. Not directly, but the fact that you used it as an example.
Well, did you have a MySpace page?
You know I did.
So what was your song?
Oh my gosh, that was the best part of MySpace.
Yeah,
was the ability to download songs and have them available.
On there,
MySpace
and then,
page.
But then the other is how many? Like, I remember having a girlfriend and being like, "Well, I'm not in your top 5," right? Like, it was like, who was your number 1? Who was your number 2? Who was your number 3? Like, that was the only place where you actually, in a public forum, you ranked the people closest to you. Anyways.
That's funny. That's so funny. Well, thank you for doing this Dorchester event. I really do feel like the connections that are made here aren't made anywhere else.
Yeah.
And they're made in a different way here.
Yes.
You can come to the Capitol and engage with me as an elected official. I can come to your when you were mayor. I can come to your office and say, give me 15, 30 minutes. Let me advocate for something. Thank you. Move on. And you may meet at a community event, but Dorchester, you just get to come here and be authentic, have real conversations, challenge each other's thought process, challenge each other's approach, and collectively say, how do we move the state of Oregon? I feel like that's what this conference is about.
It's our retreat, right? It's a retreat for people who are, we did the Courage in the Arena Awards. Congratulations. It was an honor for you to be part of that.
That was super cool.
But this is the retreat for the people in the arena, the common sense, slightly right of center to the whoever, right?
Yeah.
Where we can all get together and gather and do exactly what you're talking about, to bond together, to retreat, to plan, to build our authentic relationships, or to meet each other for the first time. And that's what we're trying to curate here.
I invited Connie Wenchel onto this little podcast today, and I asked her about, was this her first experience? Yes. And the best part of that interaction was she said, I'm a centrist. That's who I identify as here in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, well.
And she is now our ORP chair.
Yeah.
And again, I think she definitely has ORP chair credibility. She is a conservative person, but in Oregon, again, someone that believes that they're in the middle trying to have pragmatic solutions, that's willing to compromise and find a common sense approach.
I'll tell you, I don't know.
Is a Republican.
Well, right. I don't know Connie very well. I haven't interacted with her too much, but from my perspective, she seems to really be a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways, to be honest.
Yeah, excited about her leadership, excited to connect. And again, bridging the legislature to the people has always been my mission, because I never felt like I was a legislator.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel like sometimes it's just a hat that I wear or a role that I play, and I'm still just a small business owner from the Dalles, Oregon, trying to figure this all out. So,
well, that's important.
I love this setting to where people get to experience that and realize that they too can do this. I love your story about especially the youth that come and participate.
Well, and we're getting more and more youth. I think if you attended last year, you notice there's more youth here this year. We really want to engage in that. There's actually, this afternoon, there's the Young Guns panel on there.
Love it.
I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, we did kind of a rising staffer kind of panel, and Jacob Vanderveer was on there, who's now
Jehoon Han.
Jehoon Han, who's now Chief of Staff in the Department of Labor. Jacob, who's now Chief of Staff in the House Republican Leadership Office. I mean, I'm proud. I really am proud of that. Those are the things that are the legacy of the conference.
So I was teasing Ben West last night. I was like, of all the rising stars, Shelley's my favorite. I was just teasing him.
Yeah.
And so but you, David Brocksmith, Ben West, Lori Chavez DeReamer, I don't know if you know this, she's now Secretary of Labor.
Right. It's pretty cool.
Rising star at Dorchester at one time in her life. But these are all people, like, honestly, like the folks that have earned that award have gone on to be impactful in the state of Oregon writ large, but also within our party.
Yes.
And so...
well, that's the criteria. So one is we want to see you out there doing stuff.
Yeah.
But also it's trying to look into the crystal ball and say, who's going to have a long-term impact? It's one thing for 1 year or a couple of months to stir the pot, but it's trying to find the individuals that are really going to be out there for the long term and see what that's going to look like. So
awesome.
We're proud of the Rising Star Award. I went through a medical event for mine and postponed the surgery so that I could go give the speech. It was so meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And the hope is that it's a meaningful award, moving forward for a lot of folks.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you at future Dorchesters.
Yeah,
Keep up the good work.
I have to be here. So it's becoming a family legacy at this point.
I love it.
So.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
All right. So this is our podcast. This is what we do.
Awesome.
We literally just sit here and bring people on and hang out, have a conversation.
Well, and we discuss government efficiency in Oregon. Part of the Oregon Doge. It's the latest, coolest podcast.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah.
In Salem, we've got a setup, right? We've got and you'll see like 4 or 5 different podcasts with the same background. Mm-hmm. I think
don't give that away.
One individual's creative enough to have their own.
I've seen that. It's confusing.
Have their own like centerpiece.
Perhaps we need one.
We're
a little bit of
upgrading
branding.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, you guys all need your own background.
From a consumer, from the outside, it's confusing.
Okay. See, perfect. This is the feedback we've been looking for.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Josie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with Dorchester.
With Dorchester. My name is Josie Alexander. This is my 4th Dorchester. I had no idea what it was until 4 years ago. Stan Pulliam wrangled me into it. And which makes sense. I only really got involved in politics 5 years ago. So, but this is my 3rd year now. I'm the chair of the interns. So I wrangle all the interns. Yeah. They're not cats. They're easier.
Are they easier?
They're
than
easier
cats?
than the caucus, it sounds like.
That's a lot. That's true.
They behave well.
Where's home?
I live in Lake Oswego.
Nice.
Yep, with my husband, and I have a 12-year-old girl, an 8-year-old boy, and then I decided to have fun and do it again. I have a 9-month-old baby.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, you were
That's
just talking
awesome.
this morning, though, how easy it is.
And it's easy. Oh, gosh, I recommend. I'm 45. Do it when you're older. It's so fun and so much
established
easier.
financially.
Built-in babysitter, established financially,
you got
comfortable with myself. Like
2 other kids to help.
babysitters.
Yeah.
They can cook themselves. They can wipe their bottoms on their own. Like
Oh, that's a big day when that duty's over in a house.
The things we talk about on the podcast, we never know which direction these conversations are going to go.
asked
We need to have, when we're talking with some moms, I suppose that comes up. So, Mackenzie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I went to my first Dorchester in 2006, which kind of makes me old, but that's okay. And I actually met my husband, Stan, there. And so
Mayor Pulliam.
Yes.
At the
know.
2006
no longer
one?
mayor, but
Well, he still wants a mayor or he's a mayor.
we'll
But
say
you met him
honorable.
at the 2006 event?
Uh-huh.
So your first one?
Yes, my very first one.
Okay, that I didn't understand.
And, we fell in love shortly after that, got married, had 2 kids. And so next year is actually our 20-year Dorchester-versary. And it's also the 60th anniversary of Dorchester, so that's kind of cool.
Next year's a big event.
Yeah.
Well, so what's interesting is both of you have had experiences raising your kids and then interacting with Oregon Public Schools.
Yeah.
And then you both took stands.
We did. We bonded over that. Yeah.
And we'd love to hear a little bit about it. Why don't we start with you, Josie?
So I have my oldest child is she's 12, so she's in 6th grade right now, and I was not involved in politics. I knew I was something. Didn't really even know I was Republican, but apparently I was. Have you ever heard of poke the bear?
Yes.
I accidentally, my husband and I, we put our kids in the public school system in Lake Oswego, and also that saying where you don't get involved until it involves you. And being a type A personality and also putting my kids into public school, I was just like wringing my hands, like, am I just supposed to send them over to these people and just not ask questions and not read things and not go to meetings? Well, that wasn't my personality, so I just met people, talked to people, went to the meetings, and I found all these funny things. And it just wasn't a healthy an environment for my kindergartner. And I went to a board meeting. Again, I was not political. I did not know even the people in front of me were elected. I didn't know. It was just me going in and being a mother. And I asked simply for, hey, some controversial topics are being taught. Can we as parents get notified? Because I was not notified. And there was 200 people there. Word got out that I went. 200 people came and protested me at this board meeting.
200 people
200, you guys, we had
you?
3 overflow rooms for me. It was, okay.
You're such
Wow.
a troublemaker.
So what happened was, I'm like, I'm good at this.
Wow.
I got, like, I have a voice,
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started with me was you don't get involved until it involves you. And there was 200 people there that didn't like me. And I just realized at that moment, I stood up, I had the courage, and I talked to all of them. And
So in what I understand is you had questioned some of the books that were being read to kindergarten kids?
well, so my daughter was in kindergarten, and I had found out that they were going to read a transgender book to her classroom. And I stopped it, and it didn't happen. But then I went to the board and
in the kindergarten.
asked
they were.
in kindergarten. So this was like 2018. This was before it was
Oh.
like cool to go to the school boards and scream.
Yeah.
So I just started the coolness, maybe trained in Oregon, I don't know. But I don't have any pictures, and I didn't have social media at the time, so I don't have any cool, TikTok to post on that. But yeah, so that's what happened. And after that meeting, I was like, I'm comfortable in these settings, and I formed a big group in my area of like-minded parents that weren't bold like I was, but were on the same level of parental values.
Team Josie.
Team Josie. You know what? And then one thing led to another, and then I ended up working on campaigns, and here I am with you.
my-
so
Thank goodness
so
that happened.
that's my story. Yeah.
Well,
Just
it's a great story, and you
don't
because
poke the mother bear.
someone poked the bear, but they, when you saw that some of the material you didn't agree with, you began to question the folks that make the decision. Next thing you know, 200 people were protesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually quite a remarkable number of
It was
protesters.
wild.
I'm
It
not
was
sure if I've
wild.
had 200 people protest me. I'm a little jealous.
It was you guys. It was wild.
I'm sure you have.
I'm sure you have. Every day you do. Yeah.
Maybe my my meter of protesters is a little off or something. I need to find out. But that is fantastic. And
Thank
so you also were involved in you homeschooled your kids for a while.
So that led me. Thank you for that. Led me to COVID hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
COVID hit 1st grade. So then we put her back in 1st grade, and then COVID hit. And then what I knew at that time was already it wasn't working for us, but then COVID exposed it all to the public. And that's where I got even a bigger support base and people understanding where I was coming from, because it was all so easily out there. And then we homeschooled. Yeah, and so I've homeschooled my kids for about 4 years. And then it just got to a point where I had a baby. So my excuse was I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So they're in a 3-day-a-week. So we're in another non-traditional path. They're in a 3-day-a-week. It's called a classical Christian school, and it's 3 days a week. So I still get that ownership of homeschooling them. They're still homeschool registered, but I have these real teachers that are in front of them, and people that they find more authoritative than me, so it's a nice balance. It's a good balance.
Josie, it sounds like you think, and I'm not sure how to really, I wonder if Oregonians, we're a little unsettled, but you almost sound like you're in charge of your children's education.
Very much.
I can't believe you'd say that.
It is. I never wanted to homeschool. I don't feel, I was one of those where I didn't know what it was. I truly did not feel fit. I'm a nurse at the heart of it. That's a whole other COVID story. You guys can have me on for that one.
That one's a good story too.
I actually got protest. I had a bigger protest for that.
Wow.
But so I don't feel fit for it. But now my thing is like, if you want to homeschool, you can do it. I was one I didn't think I can do it. The resources now for homeschool parents, it's like so plentiful.
Right.
The resources. When I talk to people that have homeschooled 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even maybe 5-6 years ago, they didn't have what we have now available. The pods, the websites where you can just go put in history lesson for Abraham Lincoln and, bullet points be printed out for your curriculum and well, then everybody does it too. It seems like everybody homeschools. So you have play dates, and our church does, the Athey Creek Church. I go to Athey Creek Church, and they have supplemental classes for baking or theology, or so there's so many options that they're just not sitting at home with me, and I'm not creating curriculum. So it's easy. I got it when it was easy.
It is easier.
Acceptable.
My wife and I homeschooled our kids for a period of time.
Oh, you did?
But
it was hard, but it was harder than it is.
Well, I'd say this. My point is, we are in charge of our children's education. It is our responsibility.
Going back to your point, I quickly took control of it. Sorry, the point was I quickly took control of it, not feeling that I was qualified, but I ended up. I am qualified, and with the help of so many resources around me and so many homeschool moms around me, parents, that it became my job then. And I quit nursing, and it became my job.
What I'd love to compare and contrast, though, is now, Mackenzie, you didn't go to a school board and say, who are these people in front of me?
You knew.
You had a political background.
Yeah.
You had foundation, one, just through your engagement in Dorchester, through your personal relationships. So what was your journey into organizing and consolidating a group of women to stand up in this space on education?
Yeah, it's funny because I've worked on political campaigns, and I was married to a politician, and so I never really wanted to be in the forefront. I liked that supporting role, and I remember it was the 1-year anniversary of the 2 weeks to flatten the curve when they closed schools. So the 1-year anniversary, our schools are still closed in Oregon. We put all the teachers in front of the line to get the vaccine in hopes we could get our kids back to school, and then they still wouldn't get them back to school. And I just made this video on my phone right after I'd been out grocery shopping or something. And I said, you know what? If our kids had a union, they would have been back in school ages ago. But there's no one out there who's actually representing our kids. And so from that kind of developed into, well, okay, what can we do? How can we fix this? And so I decided, well, I'm just going to, I see all these parents out there, and I see them complaining, and there's no one organizing this and figuring out how can we make it better? How can we fix it? So I started the Oregon Moms Union, because who's going to advocate better than moms? I mean, dads are great, yes, but nobody's going to advocate better than moms. And it kind of started slowly, and I got this call from Fox News, and they're like, hey, we want you to come on and talk about this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. What's going on? And it kind of just grew from there. And I had all these parents reaching out to me about what do I do? How do I get involved? And so we very quickly had to figure out what are we going to do with these parents? And I don't know everything. I'm just figuring it out along with everyone else. And I had met Josie, and, was really inspired by her ability to just stand up and speak out. And so through, social media, we started a bunch of different campaigns about, let's just commit to having schools open 5 days a week. Let's just get teachers and schools to commit to that. And I think even going into that summer, we had a hard time getting that. Then there was everything with masks when Kate Brown brought back masks, and all of our poor kids had to sit in school with masks. One of my daughters wears glasses, and she had a really hard time seeing because when you wear a mask, you have glasses on, it fogs up your glasses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we just kind of taught parents how to advocate for their kids. We taught them, how do you go to the school board meeting? What is a school board meeting like? What's kind of like the proper way to talk at a school board meeting? Don't go in and be too crazy. Like, go in and say you want them to take you serious, but go in and, be strong, be realistic. We taught parents how to run for school board. Like, let's just go out and change it. And so really we came to it from a point of like providing organization and resources for parents to be able to advocate for their own kids.
But realistically, what a sad commentary, because your point about the kids, if they could unionize,
Yeah.
right? If moms could unionize,
Yes.
that you had to come up with an alternative because that education labor union was so powerful,
Controlling it.
and on a national
They were
level too,
controlling it, yeah.
fighting so hard from doing the work they were hired to do. Like the national media, I remember the American Federation of Teachers, the national group saying, hey, we need all these considerations. We can't get back in the classroom. Any one of us that were saying, get back in the classroom, we had other people saying, oh, that's a death sentence. How dare you? You're killing people.
Yeah. You're gonna
kill.
Stop it.
Yeah.
And yet I saw your social media movement. Like it was for us that were elected to try and be that voice. I just can't tell you how empowering it was for us. And it was something else to point to.
Right.
Say, look at all these people at home. Look at all these moms that are standing up. They're looking for answers. They have jobs. They have other things that they need to do. And for some of you, you never got to stop doing them, right? Like I'm a nurse. I'm essential personnel. I have to be where I'm supposed to be. And yet my kids are stuck at home. I'm supposed to help them navigate this
Yep.
Yeah.
interactive
The-
social
What did they call it? Online
experiment.
learning. Online
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
Experiment.
But it was a social experiment.
Yeah,
it
we
was
stopped
like sitting
that,
in front of a computer for an hour at a time.
Oh, it was
And so
awful.
I can't thank you enough.
Yeah,
Like,
you did good.
It was awesome.
Yep.
It really was. And the movement, and I mean, I can picture your little circle faces on social media every time there would be a new message saying this group's talking, and the groundswell of support that you generated because of your willingness to act. Again, thank you.
Yeah. It was a lot, and obviously there's all the haters out there, and you kind of just have to laugh it off and ignore them. But it was one of those things that I just felt like I was just a mom. Like I wasn't. Everybody thought I was someone special who was up doing something. And I'm like, just like Josie, like we're just moms who were just sick of all the BS, and we're like, no, like we're not going to do this anymore. And so I think it just goes to show that like no matter who you are, if you're passionate about an issue, like get out there and go do something, anything.
Whether you're political or not.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
not.
Exactly.
I did. Yeah.
Random question: do the haters draw you down,
I
or
love
do they
it.
empower you?
Oh, come on.
Oh, Josie like feeds on that. I, on the other hand, is like I try to be brave, and then like I go home and I get like really sad. I'm like, somebody called me a Nazi today, or somebody told me it was my fault because I'm killing people's grandparents, or just I think the best one though. And this one I kind of wish would have been true, but they're like, oh, you're just a bunch of day drinking bad moms who don't want to take care of your kids and you want them to go back to school. And I'm like, I wish I had time to be a day drinking bad mom.
That's not a bad, if you're going to take a hit, why not that? Huh? I always laugh, being on the Ways and Means Committee, if you listen to the Oregon Education Association, the union that represents teachers, you could have swear they represent kids. I mean, you listen to them.
You could swear that they do or don't.
They do, because the way they talk, the way they present, there's times I have to say, you're a union representing teachers bargaining for higher salaries and benefits. That's cool, but you don't represent kids.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying.
But
Yes, yeah.
no, they represent teachers to bargain for higher wages and salaries and working conditions, et cetera. I get that. That's a permissible function, but they don't represent kids. The kids, by and large, parents are in charge of their education. Take responsibility for your kids' education, and there are tools. There is the public school. and if your kids are in public school, engage, because you don't just abdicate your responsibility when you enroll them in a public school.
And then to that point, I have friends that still have their kids in public school, and they'll say something to me, and I'll say, well, don't you know about this, this, and this? And they said, no, send me the article, or send me I said, no, I'm not in there anymore. You're in there. Like, the only reason I knew these things were happening is because I read all the emails. I go to the meetings, and so I always push it back onto them. Like, I'm not spoon-feeding you this information. Your kids are in there now, not mine. I saved mine. I still involve myself here and there. But so empowering parents to just read and keep up and ask their kids questions, meet with the teachers. If you can't homeschool, I get it. Like, I get parents that can't do it. But part of the upbringing of your children is knowing what is happening inside that classroom, because it's not the most friendly environment at times if you hold our values, conservative values.
But you both gave permission to a group of parents that I don't think realized that they were empowered.
Yeah.
I don't think people remember that is their right fundamentally to advocate for their kids. And just like the brick throwers, right? No one would ever throw a brick through a window, but if you see 7 other people do it, you might be inclined to do it. If you see 20 other people, like there's somebody that has a threshold of, I have to see 100 people throw a brick through a window before I'm willing to do it. And in contrast, you gave permission for people to speak to that authority, to speak to the school boards, to say, wait a second, I don't need that garbage taught to my child. And I also need my kids back to school. And I know not the same exact topic that motivated you both, but I definitely know that COVID exacerbated it. And again, the ability to allow other people to know that they have that voice is super important, and you did that at a time when people were really searching. So that
it's just like patients can ask questions to their doctors. Doctors are not off top. Parents can ask questions to their teachers.
Sure.
It's so like you said, you are responsible for your children, you are responsible for your health. Like, teachers aren't the end all be all, doctors aren't the end all be all to your health.
Well, and I think too, like COVID, there was kind of a silver lining to COVID, which sounds crazy, but I think it really just revealed to parents and the general public like what was really going on in schools. Like, all of a sudden I'm sitting there and my kids are on their computer screens and I hear what the teachers are talking about, and it just brought to light a lot of like these much larger issues that COVID sucks and online learning's horrible, we got to get our kids back to school, but then there was everything else that was going on that so many parents weren't aware of because they didn't have time to volunteer, they didn't have time to go into schools. And so I think that is one blessing, that at least parents are more aware now, and hopefully, to Josie's point, they know that they can go, and you've got to be your kid's biggest advocate, because the teachers aren't going to do it, the union's not going to do it. I mean, teachers are wonderful, but they've got to teach 20, 30, however many kids, and they can't always do something special just for one child. They're sometimes forced into teaching the curriculum they're given. So I think just being engaged and paying attention, like Josie said, I think it just goes a long way, and just remembering that at the end of the day, they're your kids. They're not the school's kids. They're not the teacher's kids. They're not Randy Weingarten's kids.
Thank you for that name. I was National AFT was all I could come up with. Weingarten.
Yeah. I'm like,
PTSD.
These are our kids, and it's our job to make sure that they get a good education and they grow up to be just amazing, successful people.
And of course, for a day drinking mom, what was the phrase? Bad mom?
Bad mom.
On hindsight, now there is article after article after article coming out
That we were right.
that you were right.
Affirming it.
And people are acknowledging that, of course, that taking kids out, shutting down schools, the masking, playing sports and math, all that's had now detrimental effect when you look statistically about a lot of the problems. And so I'd love to know if you've ever mentioned to any of the haters, did you ever come back and like send them a link to one of the articles now and say, yeah, I was right? Now, I know you probably don't do that because that's something Daniel and I would do, but not someone nice like you, but you were right.
Yeah, I never did, because it was kind of one of those things that, like, a lot of times that, like, you're not going to change people's minds on social media, and so you just kind of, like, let them do their thing. But actually, it'd be kind of funny to go back and do now, just to, like, see what they said.
We're
I
on.
wanna- I want to ask about this event because here we are. This is not our normal backdrop when we talk podcast, but we're here at Dorchester. What is it about Dorchester? You've been here for 19 years, and I know, there's a personal reason to want to be involved. You're married to a board member and somebody that spends an awful lot of time, but you invest a ton of time too.
Yep.
What is it for you that brings you back to Dorchester every year?
I think it's a great place to kind of, it's fun. Like, it's just fun to get together and like see all your people. And, as someone who's not in the building, I don't see a lot of, the people that are in the building. And
The building being the Capitol.
Yes, the building being the Capitol.
Yeah.
So I think it's just fun to come and see everyone. It's always a great time. I think there's so many inspirational people that you don't normally get to hear from that get up on stage. There's so many opportunities to, see different things, meet new people, be on a podcast. So I love that. And it's so silly because the Dorchester tagline is where politics is fun. But like, Dorchester really does make politics fun. It's not kind of just some like boring conference where you go listen to a bunch of people and then like you go home. But like there's networking and there's dinners and there's laughing and there's crying and so
karaoke.
And karaoke.
There's karaoke tonight by Senator Brock Smith.
That's right, yeah. I would say
the time is what I was indicating.
Yeah, you got to go practice
I
your
would
song.
say real quick, so she said fun, and I would agree with that. But also it's motivating. So at the women's breakfast today with Suzanne Weber,
she
she's
was
like,
great.
your infrastructure is your kids. And
Yes.
she had all these the motivation is really what I love doing. And that's why I like working with the interns, because I like to present them like, look, Republicans are pretty. Republicans are fun. Republicans can put on a good weekend. So they stay in the party, or so I like to do. I like the motivation.
We are good looking.
We're good looking people, and we're fun.
people.
So I want to point them in the direction of and introduce them to people. They're all interested in politics. The interns that I choose, and so I want them to be like, look, well, here's all these different levels and layers of politics that you can get into, not just in the Capitol.
Everybody that saw that Suzanne Weber speech this morning.
We didn't record it. I don't know. Did we?
Yeah.
We did?
We're recording everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
recording everything.
Yep, we're good.
Let's clip that and put it.
But she needs emails to just encourage her to do that on the Senate floor.
She needs to come back.
She needs to talk.
Oh,
about
does
it.
she
she
was
not?
fantastic.
She
not-
does. She does. But
she
she doesn't do it enough. Grandma Bulldog has that passion, and she got that nickname for a reason. And you saw her finger.
showed it
pointing
today.
at
Oh, I
that.
love
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, and you need to get you. Oh man.
So when you're exhausted throughout the year and you come here, you guys are kind of at the end of the year session,
Yeah.
right? And the motivation, you're in the Capitol, I'm out of the Capitol, but we all grind. So hearing them with their motivational speeches, even Bruce, Senator Starr, he
Last
had a
night,
great,
yeah. I'm Bruce Starr, and I'm running for something. That was good. That was good. 62 days left until Oregonians are safe from the Oregon legislature.
But you're not
62.
counting.
No, we have it's on the whiteboard every day. We count it down.
And that might be
Absolutely.
the amount of school days left too. I don't know.
It's pretty close. But we're not counting that either.
Well, thank you for being on the Oregon Doge podcast.
Yeah, that's fun, guys.
This has
Thanks.
been great.
Yeah, thanks you guys for having us.
Yeah. This is it. I mean, you just did it. You podcasted.
Well done.
I will say I didn't know this was a part of leadership, but you get into leadership and they send you to the national Republican events and you sit down and they put you in like forums and they say, here, talk about your transportation policy, talk about your energy policy. And every time it seems like, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida go and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds great. These people have power and authority. And then someone like New Mexico will go, and then I'll be like, okay, hold my beer, New Mexico. Let me tell you what's happening in Oregon. Like this guy's crying a river about the poor policy choices he's faced with. And I like, hey, we're the tip of the spear out here. And then California will say, hey, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Hold your horses.
Well, tell us, introduce yourself and what you did previously.
Yeah, so I'm Nick Stark. I'm the executive director of the Oregon Freedom Coalition now. I used to be with the American Legislative Exchange Council. That's how I got my start. I was an intern there. Didn't really have any prospects coming out of college. I went to Liberty University. Great place. just by a miracle of God opening doors for me, I ended up getting a connection to Alec. 2 weeks in, my internship supervisor leaves, and I've got a job all of a sudden working with some of the best and brilliant, most brilliant people in the States and in DC.
Yeah.
And it was really a good opportunity for me funny enough, most of my connections that I got in Oregon actually came through working at Alec and not necessarily Dwayne, which was super fascinating.
So he came to talk to the caucus one time, and I got this Alec brochure, and I sent a snapshot of who's talking to us to Dwayne, and I was like, "Is this somebody to you? Is this kid anyone you know?" And he sends me back a picture of Nick when he's like 6, right? And so then I was like,
me and all my cousins too.
I was like, Nick,
whoa.
"Hey Nick, is this you?" And he was like, "Oh my gosh." But yeah, so we served with his uncle, Dwayne Stark, who, dear friend of yours, somebody a political ally and just an absolute champion of a man.
Served on leadership with him in the House. A great friend, close friend. And I still keep in contact, and he's in Texas.
Yep.
And I said one time after being out of the legislature, when people asked about, who I served with and, the personalities, I said there were only 2 really emotionally healthy people. Dwayne Stark and Ron Noble. All of the rest of us had just incredible baggage, but Dwayne and Ron were the 2 guys that were just so even keel, so pleasant, so fantastic to work with. And Dwayne was always kind and great.
And I think one of the things that I think keeps me optimistic about politics in general, it's easy to get really pessimistic about the different personalities, the different policies that happen, but to see people like Dwayne that go into politics that can keep that kind of healthy emotional quality or intelligence, I think that's it's a good role model for me. It has been. I was 16, I think, when he ran for office, and so I got to watch it from the before I even knew what I wanted to do with my life. And that's a lot of the reason I do what I do, is because I got to watch Dwayne do it for a couple of years and do it well, do it healthily. And, now he's off doing his own thing and following God's calling. And I love to see it. And
And Dwayne, your uncle, before he became a legislator, was a pastor in a church and very active in foster care.
Yeah.
And he's doing that in Texas.
He is, It's
now he's
it's
not
good
a
to see.
pastor of a church, but he's involved in ministry.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're doing their own foster care ministry down there. It just sounds awesome. They're ministering to foster care families. I think it's something that really is probably should grow, and we should see more of that in places. Somebody told me one time that there wasn't a piece of foster care legislation that went through the legislature during his time here that didn't have his fingerprints on it in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
and it was
that's true, and because while we were in the minority, the Democrats had such great respect for him. That and it was really unique that they would involve him so much because he had so much credibility and could speak to his lived experience. And pretty rare. But yes, he was very involved in that, and I'm so thrilled that he's still doing it. And on occasion, he'll actually post some social media stuff he's doing. Now you went, and now Alec is very active with legislators in the various states and helping them with ideas, seeing best practices. Were you involved in that?
Yeah, so I was the tax and fiscal policy director there for 2 years.
Exciting
and,
rock star kind of status or nerd?
It was a little bit.
The tax policy people are always the rock stars.
Exactly. Well, what's interesting about it was that, I mean, you guys know, not everybody that runs for the legislature is somebody who is that policy wonk, or, I mean, oftentimes it's just somebody that sees something wrong in their town or their state, and they go, I'm going to do something about that. They might not know what that something is, but they're going to do something about it, right? So they run for office, and then they get in, and if they don't have good, tools that they're equipped with, if they don't have groups equipping them with good tools, then they can get influenced by a lot of different bad ideas and, a lot of good ideas too, but That was the great thing about working with Alec, was that I felt like I was doing a ministry in my own right with legislators across all the states.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things that I kind of had on my heart the entire time I was there was blue states. Having grown up in a blue state, watching my uncle do things in a blue state in the legislature, and just thinking that I know the people of Oregon. I know how, Josephine County is kind of the very red area.
That'd be a Republican area.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? Yeah, but I know that's not. It wasn't like it's a silo. There are conservative people in this state all over, in every single part of it, and just knowing that, I think it really inspired me to how can we help, our blue state friends. How can we, and we did a lot of other stuff. We would work mostly with red state folks, because those were the people that wanted to come to ALEC, that wanted the free market, limited government, federalist, style policies. And they were the ones that could get that done. The blue state guys, they often felt discouraged. And my goal was to, no, we're here to help you. How can we encourage you? And so that's what, like, being back, I very much take that same mentality. As I want to do what we can as Oregon Freedom Coalition to rally people.
Mission.
Yeah,
talk about that mission.
Yeah. So I'll go back to kind of what I was previously doing. If you look at other states like Florida, Texas, but even smaller states like Arkansas, some of these areas that are red, they have a very built-out conservative infrastructure that runs very separately from the party and runs year-round. They're working on policy stuff. They're working on messaging. They're working on all these sort of things. In Oregon, we have some version of that. It's not as well built out, not as well funded as these other states. A lot of the time and money goes into campaign season. My favorite quote that I got from the guy that took my place at ALEC was, we're really good at campaigning for 3 months every 2 years. So my goal with Oregon Freedom Coalition is, and I should mention too, one of the most effective things that I did in the States was we would build coalitions around issues. So like the Taxpayer Bill of Rights in Colorado came under fire in one of the elections. It was a really bad ballot measure. We just organized a coalition where people were from Colorado were at the same table talking about this issue, talking about their strategy, talking about what they were doing. They defeated that, I think, like 65 to what would that be, 35? I'm a tax guy and I can't do math, apparently. Oregon public education system, right?
Stop.
So,
you got it right. Just took you a second.
Yeah, I know. But so I see that as that's what we want to do here, is we want to do what we can to let's everybody get on the same page and start pushing things forward. When we get bad tax packages, it shouldn't be, well, let's just figure out how we can make it less work. No, we should be building coalitions to let people know about the bad things that are happening. Not just our traditional conservative base, but let's expand beyond that. There's a large group of non-affiliated voters in this state. Actually, not even just a large. They're the largest group.
It's a huge group.
Yeah, and if you look at voter data, if you look at where they're at, a lot of them are in the rural areas, which bodes well for the conservative movement.
They tend to be conservative.
And if you look at some of the consumer data behind that, we're working with a group that does this sort of thing. They do some behavioral analysis stuff. There is a lot of them that lean conservative, and they're just low propensity voters. They're people that they work a construction job. They have 3 kids. They all go to public school. They're worried about, I think you guys talked about this earlier. They're more worried about their groceries and their kids' education, getting their kids to school, getting to work, doing all these things. Well, they're not really being activated by messages like, hey, do you know what what Salem's doing with your healthcare policy? Because that doesn't really affect them as much. So what we're looking to do with Oregon Freedom Coalition is to help build out the conservative movement, to train people up, to work together on issues, but to also target these people with issues that actually matter to them and get them activated to participate in the system. I don't need them calling legislators or sending emails or showing up to rallies every day. We need them to vote. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
So within the framework of that endeavor, is the mission to get non-affiliated voters to register with a party, or is it just to get them to engage, period?
It's just to get them to engage, period. That's how C4s work. Is C4s, we can get them to register. If they want to register for a party or not, they can choose to do that. Our goal is to get them to turn out to vote at the end of the day.
So again, full circle, we're here at Dorchester. So I want to know, so you've been here for a day.
Yeah.
Did you golf?
I did not, because I knew how embarrassing that would have been.
That was a rookie mistake. You got to golf, Mr. Stark.
It's a beautiful day.
It was a gorgeous day yesterday.
I didn't play golf.
Next year, we'll challenge you to participate.
I'll
in the
do some
golf event.
practice in the meantime, so that way it's not going to be as embarrassing.
Well, what's your take so far?
I love it. It's it's been good to be back in the conservative setting. I've been watching a lot of what goes on in Salem, and it's quite different from my time at Alec and everything, and where we'd have bad things happen in states places, but most of the time we were getting wins in places, and I think it's good and it's refreshing. When I was there, a lot of legislators would come to our conferences, especially from blue states, and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. There's people like me out there." This provides the same thing, just internally. So I love seeing the passion from like the young Republicans that are there. That's a large group of the non-affiliated voters that I think we're starting to target.
I missed their panel. I am ashamed to admit that I serve in the Senate now, and we do incorporate naps as part of our day. And I had to go rest up for this podcast.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
This takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, no, it was. It's important work. I mean, engaging. That's the theme. Frankly, we're talking all the time, and even on the Oregon Doge podcast, we're trying to take this budget, which it's so complex, and folks don't think about it much, and we're breaking it down agency by agency and into their spending and talking about how this affects them. And when they do this, that means they're not doing that.
Right.
And that is important to a lot of people. And, so it is an important work, and you don't always have, short-term feedback that's positive, but I think people want to hear it, because most folks that I talk to, and in a lot of folks, what I hear about, they're engaged because they're concerned, and they have this sense like there's just things not working, and letting them know how they can have a voice. And the base level is vote.
Yeah.
And then, with that engagement, even at that base level of voting, there's going to be people who say, wait a second, I actually think I have something to say at a water district or, a school board or something. And, sometimes, it takes inviting them to the table and saying you're included.
Yeah. Well, it's like the ladies you just had on, they had their issue that came to them, and they said, well, let's go to a school board meeting.
Right.
And you never know who you're going to get to turn out with that, but what kind of rock stars you're going to get to do something more politically. You might get, to use our construction worker example, you might get somebody who's just concerned about the education of their kids, and all of a sudden they're running for school board, they're running for mayor of their town, commissioner or whatnot, and that's how we build the pipeline. Because one of the other things too is that, okay, what happens if we win in, be it 26, 28, 30, whatever? What happens if we take the majority and the governor's seat? Do we have the people to fill out the roles? We need to start activating people and getting people trained in some of this stuff to be able to fill out, not just the elected seats, but the unelected, appointment seats. We need judges. We need lawyers to start stepping up and running for judicial seats. And so it's all these things, and that's part of the vision of Oregon Freedom Coalition is let's set the long-term vision for our state. Let's reclaim our state, take it back.
No, that's a great way to sum it up. And what sort of folks do you have help or? So right now working with you?
Yeah, so I'm working with. So I'm our executive director. We have a president, Representative Ed Deal, and then we have a couple folks that are in the House that are on our legislative advisory committee. So they kind of help us, figure out some of our messaging and strategy, and it kind of gives me a little bit of an internal look at some of the things that are going on, so that way we can be better coordinated to help the caucus. And then we've got Will Lathrop is on our board. He's been a great addition. We have Lincoln Cazares from Turning Point USA. He runs their high school programs.
Nice.
So a good part of getting our turnout. And then we're working with a group that they're called Storytellers. They actually spoke at Dorchester earlier about this same thing, activating the non-affiliated voters. They've won tons of political battles across, in blue states, but across the nation as well. So super excited to get involved with them. And then we're just trying to build out the team, raise some money. And, we're just telling people that all it takes is $5 a month. Help us out. Go to OregonFreedom.com and donate $5 a month.
Activating the non-affiliated voters, though. If there's anything that we're ever going to do that's going to turn the state around, it's to recapture the 40% of people that feel alienated and ignored.
Yep.
And they've left political affiliation for a reason.
Right.
Some registered through Motor Voter, and they weren't intending to sign up, and they were told that they were signing up, and so they just said, none of the above. But many have said, I'm tired of partisan politics, and I want to go away. And I think, again, Dorchester is a wonderful reminder as we come together as Republicans throughout the state to say, we need to be inviting, we need to be a big tent, we need to connect with people in a way that's tangible, that they say, that does matter to me, and I like your idea better than what's happening. And the crazy thing is, if you look at every poll for the last decade, people are not pleased with the direction of the state of Oregon.
No, and a lot of issues that we talk about, as a conservative movement, they're like 60-40, sometimes even higher.
80-20 sometimes.
80-20, depending on what the issue is or the niche of the issue, in our favor. So we need to be targeting that even further.
So selfishly, this is why we started doing this.
Yeah.
We said, hey, we don't trust big media to tell our story, and we're going to start telling it ourselves.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. And you should get a selfie with Mike for Uncle.
We'll send it to Dwayne.
Uncle Dwayne.
Yeah.
Just say, dude, we're still slugging away in Oregon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Behind the blue wall.
Behind the blue wall.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so we're here. Thank you for being on the Oregon Doge podcast. And as you know, we're here at Dorchester. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Riley Ashby, Anderton. I work for Turning Point USA with Charlie Kirk, and I get to experience the complaints from college students all the time about what Doge is doing on their campus. So I get to see that firsthand from them.
Well, of course, that's National Doge, right? That's a Department of Government Efficiency, and we're simply a discussion on government efficiency in Oregon. So, but the name does make those on the left, head explode a little bit.
Yeah.
Tanner?
Tanner Elliott, chair of the Young Republicans of Oregon, and currently work for Senator Brock Smith, your colleague. DBS.
DBS.
He always has a bill for whatever your issue is.
Yeah, whatever your issue is, he has a bill. In fact, he has a new podcast, No BS with DBS. And is this your first Dorchester conference?
No, I was an intern last year. Josie kind of pulled me on. I met her twin sister, and so I've been able to kind of connect with them and her family and everything since. So, yeah.
Did you grow up in Oregon?
Yes, I am born and raised Redmond, Oregon. I live in Beaverton now, against my will. But I do enjoy Washington County a lot. It's a beautiful little area. But yeah, no, if I ever get the chance, though, I will probably move back to Deschutes County and go back to Redmond. So.
Well, Redmond's great. I get to represent in the Senate a big chunk of Redmond, and of course her sister, I know. And her brother-in-law I know because we attended the same church for many, many years. And Tanner, you grew up also in Senate District 30.
I did, yeah. No, I grew up in John Day, so born and raised there all 18 years. Well, I mean, lived there a little longer, but, born and raised in John Day, Beautiful area, great small town. Grew up with those rural values that I think a lot of people could use in Western Oregon, along the I-5.
Yes. Yes.
Hard work, integrity. So, but yeah, no. And also have worked for your other former colleague, Cliff Bentz.
Yes.
So now Congressman Cliff
Bentz from Ontario, who is doing yeoman's work in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. And, of course, he's on a great committee, Commerce and Environment and Energy, or, et cetera. So what part of Redmond did you live in?
I lived in the northwest part of Redmond, and so I was right on the canyon almost always. We moved 4 different times, and each house was right on the canyon, either across the street or right there. And so I got to grow up right along Elton, Gregory kind of area, over by the Pappy's Pizza and the Walmart. And if you're from Redmond, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a very, very big monument there.
Well, that is. I know exactly where it is. That's Maple. And so you also, I think that's actually Senate District 30 area. Mm-hmm. So great to have 2 constituents in the most beautiful district. Last night they kept talking about beautiful district. I didn't compete. I'm not going to compete with the beach and everything, but at any event, it's always better at the beach, as David Brock Smith would say. And so. Tell us what you do at Turning Point USA.
So I am the field representative. That's kind of my title, but I basically every day go onto a different college campus in Oregon, and I promote conservative values. And as I'm
How dare you?
That's exactly what they say, actually. My favorites are probably going to Portland State, University of Oregon, and Oregon State University, because that's where I get, the biggest schools is where I get to have the most conversation. I did actually on Thursday. I got my stuff got stolen and taken by Antifa, and they came and visited.
Antifa stole your stuff.
Yes. So on
Thursday, I thought they were kind and compassionate.
Well, they like to say that, but they don't like to speak the truth as well. So I got the video footage and everything. It was really great. Because we've been working with Portland State University, because I'm bringing Riley Gaines out there on May 5th. To the Smith Memorial Union, and they have been getting ready to protest, and shut us down, because they don't want us to have free speech. They don't want conservatives to have a voice at Portland State University, and so they have been actively planning against us. And so I was kind of expecting, me and my students are going out there with foam boards that say "Free the First," free speech on our campus, and one of them said DEI didn't earn it. Because that's what we at Turning Point USA believe, that if, DEI means didn't earn it. Not in the sense if you are in that DEI description that you didn't earn it, but if you get to a certain point because of DEI, you did not earn it.
Well, and that is a growing criticism. In Oregon, we have, a few examples where, like in the Oregon Youth Authority, there was a supervisor who, when he found out that he was hired because of that, he was very angry and said he wasn't respected. Mr. Bird, but anyway, there was a scandal associated. But so I'm curious. Now, Riley Gaines, for those who are listening, is a swimmer from the University of Kentucky who tied a trans woman swimmer, and then they gave the award to the trans woman swimmer from University of Pennsylvania, and Riley Gaines, objected, and then now, whether she likes it or not, she became a national figure, because it was very frustrating for people to just say time out, like it was a tie, but just the thought that there was competition and between a biological male who was in transition to be a woman was angered a lot of people, and that started, it was like a snowball effect, and she became a national figure. She spoke at the Reagan Day dinner last year, great speaker, or maybe it was the year before, I can't remember, but at any event, She did a great job, and she's coming to Portland State, which many would view that's like the center of Antifa activity, right? You remember when they took over the library?
Yes, we had, we're obviously in works with security, making sure that everyone stays safe, both sides stay safe, the protesters and our event. And they did bring that up. And, they kind of pitted it on us. They were like, hey, you need to listen to me, like when I tell you to back down and stop tabling so that we don't have another library incident. And my response to that was, well, why am I the one that's being told to stop tabling because I'm so-called antagonizing the protesters to do those awful, aggressive crimes? I'm like, why not go after them and put a stop to them? I was like, why put a stop to me and my free speech when I've requested, my students have requested, they've established that they are going to table as a club, as a university club.
Right.
They're going to be there. We have the right to be there, and we are there to reach conservative students because there are conservative students that deserve a voice on that campus. And my student president, her name is Aviva Zelkind, and she is running for student government president. And they had their debates the other night, and the current student president called her a fascist and a Nazi, and threw everything at her. And those students are just underrepresented. They get called these awful names, and that's what I see time and time again. Like for instance, at University of Oregon, it has been a 6-month battle trying to get our club, a Turning Point Club, approved on campus. The largest public university in Oregon is saying, no, we don't want to hear your voice, conservatives, so we're going to throw every single hoop that we possibly can to make it to where you don't get to have a club. And so they've come up with all these little things that I have to do that aren't online for students to access, and they're not on their forms that say you will have to do this in order to form a club. They're throwing out these new things that I've never even found, I can't find, never read. And they've pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, and I now have students actively going into student government every day telling them, hey, when are you going to give me my club? When are you going to give me my club? Because what it takes is so many voices, and it's ridiculous that it takes so many voices to get one club started. It should have taken just me and my president filling out the form, submitting it, 2 weeks later getting approval, and now here we are 6 months later.
6 months at University of Oregon. And so one of the members at Turning Point USA is running for student body president, ASPSU president, and during a debate or forum, she was called a Nazi?
Yes. She called, and the current student president, who's running against her, said that anyone who voted for Trump, she said this out loud, she said, anyone who voted for Trump is a Nazi. She goes, you are a Nazi, referring to my chapter president.
Well, first of all, that's incredibly offensive. And I can't believe the school wouldn't address it's awful. Somebody is running for a student government position, gets to, does, obviously that word must mean nothing to the one who threw it out there because, the Holocaust, you could go down the list of, world-altering atrocities, committed.
Oh,
and
I'd like to mention that my student, she is a religious Jew.
Oh my God.
She is
You're
Jewish.
kidding me.
No.
So
Yep.
This woman called a Jewish student a Nazi for having the audacity to just simply run for student body president.
No, because she stands with she called her a Nazi, and this is her words, she called her a Nazi because she stands with Riley Gaines, and she stands with X does not equal XY chromosomes.
Right.
And so because of that, she, and because she voted for Trump, she said that that's why she's a Nazi.
Well, I got to tell you, if there are any reporters listening from the Oregonian, Willamette Week or something like that, I sure hope that's covered. And if it's not, maybe we can let that be known. That's horrible, and I apologize on behalf of the state of Oregon and our higher education system to your friend. It's despicable, and I could go off on that, but I won't. But I do want to address, so on campuses we've got a growing Turning Point USA, and it's probably its membership bobbed a bit because I remember when Charlie Kirk came out here, I think it was 2014 or something like that, and I was the house leader and hosted him, and it was very interesting what he was doing, and I applauded it because let's give folks, students who want to be able to hear and express conservative views an opportunity to do that. And but he told me some of the challenges just here in the state of Oregon, and it was appalling. But I want to also turn to, Tanner, who is the chairman of the Oregon Young Republicans. Tell us a little bit about the Oregon Young Republicans.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So I just became chairman this past March. So it's been we've grown our membership by 90%. It's been exciting just to see that we're getting people, fired up about conservatism in this state, and we're making conservatism cool again, as Riley knows that too. And that's kind of, the message that we're putting out, that people that want to see a change of leadership, that are young and that don't know where to go, that they do have a place to go and they can have a voice, to begin to help change the direction, the policy, and the leadership of our state. And we're planning on getting people registered to vote. I do think this fall we're going to be tabling to get some also college Republicans to join as well, just to to grow our membership numbers, because it seems like the college Republicans, Turning Point's kind of taking the college Republicans over. So, no offense to any college Republicans, but we have a great team. We have, of course, your staffer Alex Lopez. We have Calvin Bennett, who's doing a phenomenal job as our national committee man. So, you have to have a great team to build a great organization, and that's what we're doing.
So, for folks who are listening out there who would be younger than me, how does someone become a member of Young Republicans? Because I mean, the age might surprise us. Is there an age limit?
So it's anyone 18 through 40 have to be a registered Republican in the state of Oregon, and you have to pay a yearly fee, a membership fee, and that's how you join.
That's it, 18 to 40. And so how does someone find out more online about Oregon Young Republicans?
Well, we have a website, Young Republicans of Oregon. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And we're also, I think we're going to start exploring into TikTok.
TikTok. Isn't that, now I was still am a member of the Air National Guard, and we were prohibited from having TikTok on our phones as members of the military. But my daughter has it, and she was showing me how fun it is. And of course, that was like 2 years ago or whatever. And then I saw all these little things of like politicians doing a little dance. And I thought, if you got to like dance on TikTok to get elected, I'm not sure I'd win. And so is that still a thing?
I think that's more of a left thing when it comes to the dancing.
Oh, okay. Well, thank God.
Yeah.
But Trump's got a kind of a dance now.
Yeah, that
he
that
kind
one
of does the thing.
Yeah, the Trump dance that's different. But doing all the really like sporadic dance moves, and we don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, that restores some of my confidence in the activities of the Oregon Young Republicans, that you're not out there dancing on TikTok. Although maybe that could be fun. My daughter's really into it. She's 25, but my daughter is a potential member of the Oregon Young Republicans. I'm going to have to ask her about that, and to get it now. And Turning Point is college kids.
Yes.
If you're a student in college, you can be a member of Turning Point USA.
Yeah. If you're 18 to 26 and you go to school, you are more than welcome to join Turning Point USA.
And how does somebody, let's say someone watch it, because it's happening, right? Oregon Doge podcast is becoming the huge everywhere, kids everywhere. I mean, there are students at duck games holding up signs, "We love Oregon Doge." So how does someone who's watching here, because there's going to be thousands and thousands of young people watching, How does someone become a member of Turning Point? How do they find you?
We also have a website. It's called tpusa.com. And then I have my personal Instagram, tpusa_cascade. And that's where I post everything that I'm doing in Oregon, all the events that we're doing, all the fun activities on campus, where I'm going to be. But yeah, no, if you fill out the Get Involved form, it'll go strictly to me, the field rep, and then I will give you a call. So if you see a random number, don't worry, it's not scam. It's probably me asking you to get involved and answer the call to make your state and your country amazing again. So
2 questions before we wrap up. Number 1, what's your favorite Senate district in the state of Oregon?
I mean, it's easy. We're in Senate District 30.
Senate District 30. That's the answer, by the way. Because
yeah, Senate District 30. I did say that for the record.
yeah. And then second, how has your experience been at Dorchester, Tanner?
Well, I'm on the board. I have in the last 3 years, and this is my 4th Dorchester. And, I think that out of all the ones I've been to, we have the most amount of young Republicans here, younger people. So there's a lot of, I'd say, energy and enthusiasm in the room. And I also want to add that Senator Brocksmith does have the second most beautiful.
Oh, well, listen, I get it. You work for DBS, you work for this other district, but you grew up in District 30, as did you. So, but Riley, how has your experience been at Dorchester this year?
I love Dorchester. I always enjoy it. It's super, super fun. I got to, last year I dragged my, at the time, fiance with me to Dorchester to be interns with Josie, and now we're married, so I get to kind of enjoy that, kind of step back. Instead of being an intern this year, I get to just enjoy it, with him and come, and then I got to speak on the panel with Tanner. And also, I'd like to add, Tanner has done a phenomenal job with YRO. Like, the Young Republicans of Oregon, like he said, has just grown so much, and I love partnering with him. And I, my students all know about YRO, and they know I'm involved in my own personal life, not with Turning Point, because those opinions are my own. And they all know, and they're following suit. And so I'm really excited to see. We really are going to make Oregon great again. Like, with Tanner's leadership, I'm very excited. So,
if that became a phrase, make Oregon great again, it'd be MOGO? Mogo?
Mogo, MAGA.
We might try Togo. I know that, or Pogo? Pogo. It's a pogo stick. So come up, not now, with an acronym of POGO. That'll take off. Listen, you guys take that. That's my gift to you. I just tell you. And then we have hats that say Pogo. It'll work.
Perfect. I love it.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah.